Thank you for bringing me here over at the conference, and especially for To Make It Happen session. But the thing is, I really do not know how to make it happen. But I try my best to talk about how to make it happen. So my name is Hojun, and I've been working on launching a satellite for almost 6 years so far. So I'd like to talk about how I can launch my satellite. I mean, it's not launched yet, but it will be soon. So maybe some people can get some ideas of how to make money, but it's more of like how to spend money. And in order to understand why I started this open source satellite initiative project, I think maybe it's good to know what I've done in the past. I used to, I used to snowboard a lot, like for 15 years. I travel a lot, but then I broke my arms and all my parts, and I should become an artist. So, and like parents even like that too, because it's better than breaking your arms. And then I do a lot of like the interactive performances, like this kind of thing, and also this kind of like physical, computing media art. So it does have propellers, and then you need a remote control to trigger this thing, because you can also replace the remote control to other like automatic sensors, but I don't see the meaning of the automatic sensors of the interactive work. So I gave this remote control to the docent, and then whenever people passes by, docent just push the remote controller button, so the audience can feel like there's something going on when they're passing by the work. And this is like the guitar thing that I built. It does have a microcontrollers, wireless, like work with the Ableton Live, the music program. And you can, it's a wireless, so you can make music out of that too. And with that, I happened to go to the Coachella Rock Festival on stage like this. But the problem was, at that time, the guitar didn't work, but then I was so good at like rhythming with the, pushing the buttons, so people feel like, when I came down to the stage, they, all the people told me the music was great, but it didn't work. So I learned a lot from that conversation about technologies and how people see it. And this is something called the apple. So when you take a picture of this apple, it ripens. So starting from the green to red. It's an apple that needs some attention. When it ripens, it comes back to green again because it needs more attention again too. And then, so far this was the work that like so-called media art that, something happening, like you go there, something's happening. So I've been doing that since I became artist, like since, I don't know, 2005. And then I started to wonder, I think this was kind of, not interesting anymore, I mean, at that time, because I want to talk more about it. I want to have people to talk more about my work rather than just go in there and feel it and then leave the place. So I thought of a work called The Strongest Weapon in the World. This is the weapon of mass happiness rather than weapons of mass destruction. It's a work, it weighs about 300 kilograms, but it spits out messages whenever there is a nuclear explosion nearby. So it has radioactive sensors inside. and it spits out like, I love you or something like that. So this is how I built it. This is how it's working. So when you go to the front of this work, it first try to scare you by saying playing some sound. But when you go closer, it says hello to you, and it will let you know how to trigger this weapon to mass produce some messages that's stored inside. The reason why I thought about this strongest weapon in the world was because there was a nuclear experiment thing going on in North Korea back in 2006, and a lot of people were so worried about and talking about maybe North Korea can start bombing the South Korea or U.S. or things like that. But then the other country is also talking about we should stop having nuclear weapons, but still those strong countries has nuclear weapons, right? And the funny thing was, there were some nuclear weapons reductions. So I think Russia invented a weapon called the mother of bomb. And it's just made out of a lot of TNT bombs, and so that you can kill as much as people as you can with just like you using nuclear weapon. But then US developed something called the father of bomb, which is stronger than the mother. And all those kind of things. Okay, so I think I want to stop this kind of nonsense. So I want to create the strongest weapon in the world. So what it basically does is it never breaks, even under the nuclear explosion. But it just spits out messages. Hello, I love you. You can hit me, but I still there's some truth. But then eventually you win, right? So. This is one of the other projects that I teach students I used to teach, but now I don't have time to teach because of the satellite project. But this is in a workshop in some design school about we were trying to create the strongest weapon in the world as ourselves too. And the idea was right now all those mediums, especially that we stored every information into the Google, that if we have some electromagnetic pulse bomb, then we will lose, let's say, 10 years of our history, right? So why not just carve some of our information to the carbon so that it lasts more than 10,000 years? Actually, our original idea was using plate stones, limestones, but it's too expensive and too hard to get, so we go with the carbon. So we carved our GPS coordinate. There's some GNU Creative Commons logos onto the carbons. So it was really fun project. And later there's another version, the strongest weapon in the world, I Love You version came out. So in the exhibition it says, wear helmet, pick up the hammer, hit the work as hard as you can. This is a real construction hammer. You gotta hit harder. Yeah. And this weighs about 200 kilograms. So this is just how you build the tanks. So I use this real metal and going into the lab shop, machining shops to make it like that. Yeah, of course I do use Arduino in that. And also another work of mine is called radiation jewelry. This is the jewelry for who wants to commit suicide. Because by the time that I want to, I create this work, there are lots of people committing suicide in South Korea. So that makes me think a lot. So I need to have a radioactive materials, but then I searched through the internet, and then the Amazon.com sells the uranium ore. So I ordered it, and it even says uranium on the box here. It comes with the UPS, but it says uranium, but I had no problem getting it. So this is the prototype of the radiation jewelry, but instead of just giving you a chance to die, I also give you a chance to live. So that's the wire cutter. So that symbolizes the life, and that symbolizes the death. And this little green thing is actually the uranium bead that a lot of hippies uses back in the 70s in fluorescent light. So it's actually about test tasting. It's just like tasting the wine. If you taste the wine, if it's too bitter, then you ask for another wine, right? So same thing. You wear radiation jewelry, and you feel like death is too bitter, then you choose life. Because cigarette or drinking is not enough to taste the death these days, so we need a stronger one. So this was actually testing the real uranium out of the uranium ore, and this was in one of the exhibition. Yeah, it's in the fluorescent light. Actually, this is the uranium ore. I was expecting to be shiny, but it didn't shine, so I just put some markers on that. I fake it. Yeah. And so, other than just showing at the exhibition, I think it'd be a good idea to put this thing into the eBay in about, is this $1 million, right? Yeah, $1 million if you want to buy it right away. And there's some good description. So I'm going to read off the good description. Taste the death before committing a suicide. If you buy this jewelry, length of necklace is adjusted with the wire stopper, so you cannot take it off. So you cannot take it off once you wear it. You can only take the necklace off by using stainless steel cutter. And materials, uranium-238 ore, and there's also I use some gold, so they look like a real necklace, and there's no return. And I had a comment from this thread that someone's saying it's too expensive. Why so expensive? And I replied that it's a price of life. But then he replied, maybe it's expensive than my life. That's what he said. So it was interesting. So, like what you've seen so far, I was kind of into or the work that can make some narratives. So right now, sometimes I write the bio says I'm doing an artwork that says I'm using extreme technologies to bring up some social narratives. So I chose to do the next one, which is launching a satellite as an individual, because I think I can make a lot of narratives out of launching a satellite as an individual. But in conclusion, I'm kind of regret it, but I'm just going to go through it. So if I launch a satellite as an individual, I'll be the first individual in our history, human history, to launch a satellite. So I'll be like the great man. Yeah, some people call me great man because of that. It was funny. And I want to put something else to put it on the Guinness record, that artist who does not have money but who spend a lot of money. So I think that I can get the world record on that. But it's not about launching a satellite as an individual and to brag about it. It started like 2008, December, as an art project after some research, because I thought it'd be interesting to talk about individual versus institution, amateur versus professional, art versus technology, fantasy versus science, useless versus useful, hope versus politics. So by launching one satellite, I think I can deal with all those kind of issues together. That was my mistake. I can deal with some of the facts here, but yeah, especially the art versus technology one is really of an issue at that time for me, because I came from engineering background to become an artist, and a lot of people saying that how come you become an artist? You're from an engineering background. But I never studied in engineering school. So I was like nobody, but I just become an art. And I was really wondering what's the difference between art and technology. And I think I kind of concluded when art becomes useful, we call it technology. And when the technology becomes useless, I think we call it art. Right? Thank you. And also, the fact that the science is, I don't think it's like the pure science, because science cannot be, truth. I really like science because it gives us a chance to think about, something else. But it's not true. It's more of like the fantasies. So I'd also like to talk about that. And what it mean by fantasy is science has to do a lot with the politics as well too. People talking about space science industry as some kind of like the holy grail of the science, but actually it is just I think a lot of politics going on. Especially these days, a lot of countries wants to launch a satellite to raise their nationalism in their countries. I think that already happened in US and Russia, and by the time when there was a space race. So I think it's good to talk about as well too. And my strategy when I begin this project was because, okay, it's good to be an open source project. I'm saying it's a strategy. So it's not like, it does not have a goodwill to be as an open source, just like what you said in other open source project. Individual. It's not an institutional project. Amateur. It's been done, it will be done by amateur. And of course, art. You cannot blame art. There's no way you can blame art. So, okay, yeah, let's do it as an art project. And also, yeah, if you do it open source project, it's, it's just like helping like poor people thing. So, that was my strategy, because I was worrying about that someone might blocking me from launching a satellite as an individual. So if I had those strategy, then I think I don't have any problem with it, because I can argue with them. Is art is more important or is science is more important? I'm an artist, I want to launch a satellite. Those kind of questions I can keep asking them. But sadly, right now, nothing happened. Everyone helped me. It's a tragedy for me. Yeah. The strategy, I didn't need it, a strategy, but anyway, I have to talk about it. So the mission of the satellite, this is the fake parody book that I created. So this is not a real book, but I have to move the eyeball to the other side so I can avoid the copyright. So everyone is asking me about, what's the purpose of your satellite? What's the functionality of the satellite? But the functionality and the purpose of this project is to let other people know how to build, how to, how to do the registration of the frequencies and everything, so that they can have a chance to launch a satellite. And I think it's not a matter of they're really launching a satellite as themselves. It's more of like, how can I say, libertizing those space industries. Libertizing? No, liberalizing. Yeah. So it's more of like a building an open source platform, publishing a manual, and by doing that, you can, I think, do a lot of other things, because then people will start to talk about it. So this is basically how to launch a satellite. You first build a satellite, and since you cannot build a rocket, you rent a rocket. And third is get a communication frequencies, because when some things go up, it's okay if you don't want to communicate with it. It's also meaningful. But if you want to communicate it, then you have to register frequencies from something called International Telecommunication Union. It's an international organization, but it's in Swiss, but it's not belonging to the Swiss. And also, you want to work with the amateur radio union, so you have to do both. And if your country is like a space, industry countries, then you might also have a law that has to do with the space body registration. If you put something into space, your country is in charge of, that whatever that thing is into the space. Because when that thing hits something else, like a spy satellite or something, then you kind of be in trouble. So you have to go through space body registration in your country. And then when those things is Then you test the satellite finally, and then launch it, and then you play around with the satellite. It sounds easy, but not easy. Yeah, but I think this is what's most different from the people here. Maybe I think if you're not an artist, if you're not an individual, if you're coming from the company, I only care about feasibilities. Feasibilities doesn't count any cost or the return on investment or any other profit thing. So, but if you're not sure about launching a satellite is possible as an individual or not, then I'll be very ashamed, if I do the art project. So all I care about was whether it's possible or not in the beginning. So I have to do the research. So my main reference was something called CubeSat.org. So without this reference, I couldn't launch my satellite. It's a program that has been created by Cal Poly University and Stanford University in US that they're trying to give a graduate student to have a chance to build, launch, and operate their own satellite. So I have been going to this real techie conference for almost 4 years. And as an artist. And then I talked a lot, and this guy trying to standardize the system so that they can cost it down. So they come up with something called the piggyback riding. Because you cannot rent a rocket, the whole rocket, it's too expensive. I wouldn't do that. So first thing is you have to make it, launch it, operate. I'm going to show it in a very quick process. So this is the 10 centimeter, 10 centimeter, 10 centimeter, like this size satellite. Weighs about 1 kilogram. And you got to do the test because there are radiations in space. There's a temperature fluctuations in space, so you need to test it on the ground. And you need to launch it. And in order to operate, communicate with the satellite, you don't need like big fancy antenna to do that. You actually need to have like $50 worth of antenna and some like $100 worth of used handheld radio, and your iPhone as a data encoder of the sound signals. So I'm just going to go more about the launching preparations here. So let's talk more about the piggyback riding here. It's not, we cannot attach the satellite to the rocket like this. It's not possible. So what we use is something called adapter. So you put like up to 3 of your satellite into some sort of aluminum box, and then by the time it needs to be deployed in the space, it uses a spring mechanism, to deploy your satellite to the space. And yes, it's hard to know where your satellite is once it got out. So because it uses a spring. But as an artist, I'm a very sensitive artist, so I feel like this is something like the utero of one's mom, because I feel like I'm giving birth in space. My satellite is going out. But good thing is I kind of work with the other guys called the Nove Nano in French company. They came up with another mechanism, the motorized mechanism of the adapter. So, mine is not using spring, but still it's hard to know where my satellite is. So let's see the test video of the my baby coming out in Samara Space Center in Russia. Yeah, I was the one holding the camera.
Вы, наверное, ничего не поняли.
Так, если мы не успеем заметить что-то, мы можем повторить эту операцию еще раз при желании?
Ну, хорошо, еще один
раз. У вас
раз.
не ограничено?
Нет, конечно, ограничено.
Ограниченное количество.
Ну, давайте сразу.
Давайте
сразу.
Оператор нажимает и не отпускает кнопку iPhone.
Да, хорошо, давайте.
Нажимают, смотрят, загорают. Все горят?
И мы
все горят?
Все 4 горят. Так,
да.
все, раз,
Ну,
два,
я готов.
4.
Что, сильно выходит?
Оператор отпускает кнопку.
My baby.
Раз, два, три.
Ой. Yeah, this is space science. And they are not actors, they are scientists. They are not actors or the actors, they are real scientists. Like really high upper level of the Samara Space Center. Because Samara Space Center is the one who built all the Soyuz rockets and all the spacecraft in there. You know, people go and use with the Soyuz these days because the US doesn't have a space shuttles these days, right? So this is the tone of my documentary of my work that you see all the time. I didn't edit the formal part of it because it's so, I don't know, funny to me. And this is the French guy that I work with. His name is Stashek, and he came up to me and gave a chance to, you know, go to the sky together. It's their office. We were doing some kind of a signing contract thing. They are all wearing my T-shirts. But you guys might wonder how I can get, you know, a hold of the rocket companies in the beginning, as maybe you're from a company. I don't know anyone in the, you know, the rocket field, so I just sent an email randomly. And then they replied me back right away. Says, you know, if you want to go by yourself, it's a 70 to 75K euro, but if you want to share the adapter, it's like 60 to 65K euro. And then after a while, I even get spam mails like, you know, I heard like, oh, I heard you're trying to go to the space, you know, I can provide you with the rockets and things like that. So it was not as easy as, you know, not as hard as I thought. So again, it's a tragedy, you know. I thought there should be some sort of, you know, difficulties, but I didn't have any difficulties at it. So, you know, right now the price range is about 100,000 US dollars to launch a 1 kilogram. If it's a 3 kilogram, it's 3 times more than that. It's just like you're buying a meat from the supermarket. It goes by the weight. But I think if we can group together, let's say if we want to launch a 900 satellite together, I think we can, you know, cost it down, like the group launching option. So this is the launch vehicle, the Soyuz 2-1B. But the problem is it's a governmental flight. It's not a commercial flight. So there are lots of issues that I had to deal with. And this is the space body registration certificate that I got from Korean government. So you will see on top of the left, it says 16, right? Meaning that 16th of the space body, which is satellite, is by my satellite in Korea. So I'm the 16th of satellite launching guy in South Korea. And a lot of people want to ask me to make a T-shirt out of that so that they can wear it too. Yeah, the great man. So, and the great man is making the antennas out of, you know, wooden board. So it's a cheap. It's only going to cost, you know, $10 or $15 to listen to the satellite. Yeah, the diagram again. But the actual ground station, you know, is in my studio right now. And I'm going to show you some building process. This is my studio. Yes, a lot of components. And this was my first prototype. I used Google SketchUp to do that. That was my grand plan. I'm going to use all the tools, open source tools, to build a satellite. That was my plan. And I used Illustrator to, you know, to make the satellite like this. And using 2D CNC to create it. And this is like the Korean machining shops. And I built one like this. I was so proud of it because I only use like the cheap tools or the open source tools or rather easy to get tools. But then I figured that it's not possible to learn, you know, build a real sophisticated satellite. So I have to get like the real tools like the SolidWorks, the correct ones. And yes, it was not as I planned, but that was fact. So I created another one with the SolidWorks. And yeah, as you can see, this is the long antenna. I have 2 antennas right now. And this is the antenna deployment test.
하나, 둘, 셋.
The reason why the antenna should be folded is because you cannot put your the unfolded antenna into that sophisticated adapter. So you have to fold it inside. When it comes out, it will use the nichrome wire, and at the end of antenna there's a fishing wire hooked to the satellite, and then you apply the voltage to the nichrome wire, and it hits up and it cuts the fishing wire and it opens up. And the video just saw was, that what happened. So everybody understood? Okay. So you can use the measuring tape to build your antenna. And I was going to use Arduino for the basic platforms, but there were some hard issues that I cannot deal with. It's because of the software. So I really wanted to see the David here, but I couldn't get an email from him yet. So the hardest part of the building a satellite was not like designing or anything like that. It's more of like getting a component. If you want to build a satellite, where do you want to get the parts, electronic parts? It's not normal parts. Most of the real satellite uses something called aerospace grade components. And it's not, you cannot get it no matter how much money you have if you're living in like a country as some called terrorist country, because they have export license and they are not selling you. So this was my biggest difficulties. And to know which component has been into space and used successfully, but it has to be a commercial component that you can easily order from the online store. So getting those database was really hard. And then we called it radiation hardened components. It can also mean red hard. Red hard also means like, play hard too, right? That's red, kind of, So this was the most difficult part. And finally, with all this information, I was able to build my satellite. Can we? Yes. So this is a solar panel. All those informations are in the GitHub or by wikis right now. This is the front solar panel. This is the antenna module. And this is the new structure that I built with the illegal version of SolidWorks. And this is the board. Yeah, all the boards together. It looks cool, right? Yeah. And this is how I'm testing the satellite. And this is the final satellite. So this satellite has been done and waiting to be launched soon. It's a satellite beauty. So, and the last thing that you want to know more about this project is how I can make money. And I want to look like a really cool guy, so I said, funding through small donations only. That was my mistake too. You can't do it. And also, if you, I'm going to go through it. So the functionality of the satellite is it sends down the random numbers based on the temperature of the universe. So it's a real random numbers from the origin of the universe. And that random number is used for the lottery. Because once you buy these T-shirts, you will have a card like this. Like this. It has 12 unique digital numbers here. And you register with it, and then once the satellite goes up, it sends out the 12 unique digits, and you will have a chance to launch your satellite on your own. How cool is that? That was my mistake too. Yeah. And also, as you could see from the former images, it does have a really strong LEDs on front. It's a 44 watts of the power. Giving that, the sun's power is about 1.5 4 kilowatts per square meter. This can be seen from the space as well too. So what it does is, because I'm going to open up all the protocols, you can also communicate to the satellite. You can reserve messages to the satellite, so you can see some messages, in the sky when it passes to your sky, like maybe I love you or peace or those kind of things, romantic things too. Or there can be also other things too. So controllable shooting star. It's a trivial function, I think. And in order to trigger that, I came up with something called like let's hold hands together kind of device. So when you hold hands together, the currents go through the circles, and it starts to count down.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
So this is one of the prototypes. It says, "Who are you?" in a Morse code pattern, so you will be able to decode the messages, once it's up on the sky. And yeah, I don't believe in religion. Sorry. And so, and also to fund the project, I have to, come up with an idea. But I told her that I was in snowboarding for 15 years and like all those like skaters, graffiti scenes. So I think it'll be cool to, sell some T-shirts and getting designs from the artist. Yeah, that was a mistake, big as the mistake that I've ever made. And I even, sent it to the shopping mall. Yeah, this is the card. If you want to see it, you can see it afterward. And inside the T-shirts, you will have, how to register and what's the meaning of this project. Meaningful doesn't work if you want to sell T-shirts. T-shirts has to have a good design rather than meaningless. So if I sell 10,000 T-shirts, I can send one satellite, but I still have 9,800 to go. And the irony is, if I want to print 10,000 T-shirts, it costs more than launching a satellite. And I didn't know that. And also, so my approach was, okay, I just want to print like 1,000 each, changing the designs. But then I print 1,000, and by the time I print the next 1,000, the money's gone. I don't know where the money's gone. So I'm in a vicious circle. But I got exposed. I got exposed to so many media so far, and I have to be responsible. And this is really hard. I have to do something about this. And this is, pictures that I get from the people so I can promote, T-shirt selling. Yeah, so I talked through that this kind of thing is to. Actually, I was going to make some money in some kind of naive way, maybe from your perspective, right? And I think I feel naive too these days, So I went to LIFT conference, Royal College of Art, MIT, India, Himalaya, Malaysia. It was a good experience for 2 years. Like the one at the Hackers Conference was really good, and the one at the Mar del Plata, Argentina one was really good. And I also do a lot of exhibitions. This acronym means Global Orbiting Device. So you can also mean God, but as I can tell you, yeah, and then there's open source mark in there. You can, guess what it means too. It's an open God. So just briefly, I'm going to talk about the comparison chart between satellite and God. It's a do-it-yourself. God is man-made. Launch, resurrection, communication, pray, reply, no reply, miracle. Yeah, I do have a miracle. The lottery has a miracle because you can have a chance to launch your own satellite. And no miracle. But also, you have to kill your satellite at some point, otherwise it will become a trash. So I don't want my God become trash, so you have to kill the God anyway. So this was my other exhibitions. This was the real poster. This was the real poster that I've shown at the real technical conference. And next year with the T-shirts. And these are the people walking around with the satellite. And I also created something called a Hello board. It's the for the children who wants to build a satellite. It's a Scratch board and the Arduino board comes together. So, yeah, I'll also make some videos about, please buy me a T-shirt. And I got, explored a lot of medias, but as you can see, a lot of fashion magazines. And you can also download a book about how to build your satellite, but this is really an old version. And also about documentary, meeting a lot of about like doing-yourself people all around the world. And also, the Moxapis, the DIY fusion reactor. Yeah, time is up.
Okay, so what you'll see is, you'll see a glowing plasma in the chamber there. Okay, there you go.
Wow. Wow, yes. So
Can you get a shot of that? It's kind of a hard angle.
Yes, but I can see the... Can you turn up?
You don't want to get too close because there are X-rays coming out of there.
Oh, okay.
At these energy levels. I think that probably will be a problem, but it'll probably be small in relative to the benefit.
Right. Yeah. And also Gerard in Paris. So, and finally and suddenly I had a chance to, contract. So it was all of a sudden that I had to build my satellite in 5 months, including all those registrations. So this was a long movie, but it's a launching agreement. 1957, and even a dog went to space too. And I think it is really natural to think by no veneno to real.
That's how we launch our launch services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we invite you to.
So much?
Attention. For this successful and fruitful cooperation.
Yes.
Between Novanana and.
So this was at the real Paris Air Show, and those are not actors or actresses either. That's what really happened, and I invited a lot of people for those, historical moment of individual to going into space, but no one shows up. And actually, those flash camera was a fake one, but the other one was all real. There was none in front of us, other than the one camera. So launching was supposed to be happen on 31st August, but it got postponed to October, and then it got postponed to next year, April. It will be launched in a Soyuz, Baikonur, and these are all the other information. But it's really, really sad that it got postponed because that means that I have to upgrade my satellite. I still have to do this satellite project because I'm so, right now tired of, doing this project. Yeah, and this sums up the story. And I think maybe I tried to generalize what I have done so far, maybe so I can give you some, information. But I think in the future, there will be a doing-yourself cultures a lot, right? Because you can find all this information from the internet these days, all those makers. I've always been involved in all this making communities since like 2005. And I've seen all those changes, like DIY drones, Arduinos, all kinds of things, make fairs, make zines. So doing yourself. But doing yourself also means doing yourself. You do it. It's not like everybody can do it, but why don't you do it? I think now. And open source, there are some good things about open source, but there are definitely limitations of open source. I use open source somewhat in a strategical way of promoting my work or to justify my work. And I think it seems a lot of companies and people are using open source that way because they don't have a very kind open source. You go into their source and you don't know how to decode that either. So there should be very kind of open source. And the reason why I'm launching satellite is there's no why. No return on investment. Because I'm an individual, it worked really good. I had a chance to meet all kinds of CEOs, all the people. I think it was possible because I'm an individual and I'm an artist. Artists can learn really fast, faster than corporate engineers because we don't have requirements. We just want to do what we want to do. So we are passionate amateurs. I think, in the future, those passionate amateurs will, I think, hopefully lead the world so we can have more diverse things. Thank you so much. Sorry for the time.
That's fantastic. All right. Okay. All right. Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much. We don't have a lot of time for questions. We have a little time for questions, so think fast and start waving. I have a message for you from the internet. David Quartiers writes, I am on vacation. I don't recall having got an email for you. Just ping me. And his email address is in your Twitter
okay, that's
right
good.
now.
That's good.
Okay. Love the internet.
International.
Okay. Does anybody have a question right now?
Please ask me some rude questions.
Oh, by the way, everybody's minds are blown. The whole internet is currently going...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need some tragedy. I told you.
There's right there. There's a no, no, yes.
Yes.
Up. Please stand up, and there's a microphone right for you right there. Pass it on. Yeah, there you go. Pass it on. There you go. Great. Go.
Is this a very good way? How fast do you spend money? For
How fast? Oh, that's a good
seconds.
question. In 6 months, I spent almost $75,000 US. I'm gonna put my name on Guinness about that.
Hojun, do you want us to buy T-shirts or not?
I only brought 2.
Yeah, but from the internet, should we order T-shirts? Like, will we be helping you or hindering you if we buy your T-shirts?
I think it'll be really nice if you guys order all together. Mm-hmm. Then I will rent a container to ship it to the Malmö. How about that?
I see. Okay. We have time for another question.
Over there.
Over there. And the microphone again.
Selling T-shirts is more difficult
pass
than
the
launching a
microphone
satellite.
on. You all have hands. Let's do it. Yeah.
Yesterday in his keynote, Ben Hammersley talked about the fact that the sort of current society is probably lagging a little bit behind how we think because we're digital. So I'm wondering if you think in, let's say, 5, 10, 20 years, your satellite could start a movement where the satellites could become communication satellites and we could have an open source internet. Mm-hmm. Infrastructure internet.
Oh, you want me to talk about how I thought about it?
Yeah, no, will we have an open source internet with our own open source communication satellites in?
Yes,
maybe 10
there
years?
might be some illegal networks out there, but I don't think it will replace the internet because the communication speed is so slow. And if you want to have a really faster network, yeah. So I've been told there's no killer apps in space industry.
Everybody just took their phones out to tweet that there are no killer apps in space industry.
Yeah, there's some, but...
Yeah, no, but that's interesting. So we're not going to have a pirate radio type situation unless there's very heavy legal constraints on what you can do on the internet.
Pirate radio is possible because they use, analog frequencies and audio frequencies, which is not that fast. It's totally possible, but, I'm a neutral guy. And it's up to you, whatever you make out of this.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there one last question? No. In that case, I have one last question.
Yeah.
Is it legal? I mean, I read on your website that as of 2010, it is legal to launch some things into space if it's not too far from the Earth. 600 kilometers to 2,000, I think, something like that.
Oh.
Is that still, and you said that they're trying to make it illegal for
Yes.
people to send stuff up. What's happening there?
Oh, I have been told that there's some movement in like so-called space leading countries like US and French and Russia, that they're trying to make a law that so that smaller institutions cannot put something into space. And right now, it is totally okay to put something into low Earth orbit, which is from 600 kilometers and 2,000 kilometers. But they're trying to make a law so that only a certain institution or the big companies can launch it into the space. So I think it's time for us to speak up and buy T-shirts.
Ladies and gentlemen, Song Hojun.